Ahoy folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. So, we've had the Desperado build, and I talked about how it wasn't super useful for leveling. That may have just been because everyone was playing an incredibly low level Hive Scum, all playing the same build. It might have been other reasons. It might be the build doesn't work very well at low level. So I'm going to show you what I switched to and had an infinitely easier time playing with while leveling. So let's jump in and have a look. So while leveling, I switched over to using the bone saw, or the more colloquially termed, the poop knife. This thing is actually a lot better than I initially thought it was. I thought it was very clunky and slow, but the more you build down the tree, it speeds up and starts working almost like the chainsword. So how did we build it? I built it like this. Mobility is a dump because it's compared to damage, finesse, first target, and critical bonus, it's kind of useless. Perk-wise, I went with Flak and Unyielding. Flak being the most prevalent armor type in the game, and Unyielding to help you with boss damage. But there is a sneaky little trick where we can basically murk monstrosities, bosses, and big things with very little effort on our part. So this may get switched out to Carapace instead of Unyielding. More testing is required as it is only the first few days. I'm just showing you exactly what I used. Blessings-wise, Refined Lethality and Shock and Awe. Shock and Awe is amazing on this weapon, but if you don't like Refined Lethality, we can change that. During leveling, what I used instead of Refined Lethality was Decimator. I also used for a short amount of time was Shred, but Decimator and Shock and Awe work amazingly together. Like really, really, really well. I would even suggest actually going with Decimator instead of Refined Lethality for leveling. Drop down these bloody menus. Anyway. So that's the poop knife. Next up, we have the needle pistol. One of the most overpowered weapons in the goddamn game, and I love this thing. Specifically, the Mark II. So on this, you can dump out stability if you want mobility. Stability doesn't mean a goddamn thing on this weapon, and nor does mobility, so pick whatever the hell you want. Perk-wise, I've gone with Flak and Unyielding. You definitely want Unyielding on this for boss damage. Flak is just, as I always say, it is the most prevalent armor type in the game, so it's giving you the widest usage. Blessings-wise, I've been trying out a few on this. Ghost and Desperado seem to work quite well together. The immunity to ranged attacks on a weak spot hit is quite good. This is a very accurate weapon. So I'm going to show you why the needle pistol is ridiculous. So as you can see here, you can press the extraction button to change it. Yellow is pure chem toxins. Blue is AoE. So I'll show you the blue one. And then it bursts and it spreads it to other targets. Other targets won't burst though. It spreads the chem toxin, but not the burst. Now, let's just reload this. I'm going to show you why this thing is ridiculous. Because here we have a crusher. Yeah. Here you have a mauler, one shot. One shot doesn't kill it entirely, so 2. But imagine this. You are running around full pelt. You can literally tag them with it. It doesn't even matter where you hit them. It doesn't matter if a headshot or anything. And what you do with monstrosities is you mag dump into them. Because they're not armored, they take a lot more tick damage. As you can see here, on a Reaper, it's ticking at about 700 a tick. This thing is ridiculous, and we are building it to be even more ridiculous. I love this thing. It's definitely going to be nerfed at some point after Christmas, like they did with the Arbites. They will allow the class to be overpowered for 2 to 3 months, And then once sales stop, they will nerf it. So enjoy it while you can. But yes, the needle pistol is ridiculously overpowered, and I love it. Let's talk about Curios again. As you can see, I'm still not using maxed out Curios because they're a pain in the ass to get. I've spent almost 50,000 Sire Milk fun bucks trying to roll a perfect Curio from his random Curio thing, and I got nothing. So Sire Milk can literally go fuck himself. But I would highly suggest 2 toughness Curios and a stamina Curio, or 2 toughness and a health Curio. And on the Curios, you're going to want toughness, combat ability regen, and damage resistance gunners on all 3 of them. I'm currently using this is because it's what I've got, so I'm just going with the flow for the moment. I quite like stamina on the Hive Scum. It works quite well. A lot of our stuff is very stamina heavy, so having a +3 stamina Curio is quite helpful. So my end goal is 2 toughness, 1 stamina. But if you want pure defense, it's 2 toughness, 1 health, or 3 toughness. There we go. We have the gear. Let's take a look at the Stim Lab. Again, we are still working on all of those annoying penances. So I'm running a very stripped down cartel special here. I'm running 2 cooldown regenerations and 3+ strength with wildfire. At the end, we're probably going to change this to something a little bit more powerful, but we're literally just looking for cooldown at this point so that we can get as many kills in on each kind of iteration of using it. For the talents, right. A Tertium Welcome, 15% melee damage on the first enemy hit with each attack. Precision Violence, melee hits replenish 4% toughness, melee critical strikes and weak spot hits replenish 8, and critical weak spot strikes replenish 12. Float like a butterfly, perfect blocks and successful dodges grant 20% critical strike chance for 3 seconds. Untouchable, sprinting for 1 second grants minus 12.5% threat for 3 seconds, stacking 4 times. This is actually really funny. I only started using this just to see what it does. And yeah, a lot of the stuff will just leave you alone. And you can just watch your team get pulled apart by things. It's quite amusing. I mean, you don't have to take this. You could just take moving target if you want and go that way. But I just think Untouchable's funny. Chem Grenade, because it's wildly overpowered. Again, everything we're using is increasing the damage the chems do. And then everything just starts melting. And if you want to help out, you can just needle pistol into it. And it lasts an incredibly long time as well. So I keep forgetting I can actually press inventory now. They've got Gang Tough, 10% range damage and 10% toughness damage reduction. Nimble Bimble, dodges are extended by 25% and time considered dodging is increased by 50%. While sliding gain melee attack immunity. This thing is wildly good. Always take it. Jittery, plus 40% dodge recovery speed while stamina is above 75%. We're taking Anarchist for the crit because crit is incredibly good. You can also take Ruffian if you just want the flat 10% damage, but I would say crit is better, as crit does proc a lot of our abilities. Toughness boost, and then we're taking Rampage. Replenish all toughness and enter Rampage for 10 seconds. For the duration, gain 50% melee power, 20% melee attack speed, and 25% damage reduction, as well as becoming stun and suppression immune. Melee strikes extend the duration by 0.3 seconds. After 20 seconds, the extending becomes diminished. Upon exiting Rampage, lose all stamina and become exhausted for 7 seconds. And gaining plus 25% damage taken and 75% stamina regeneration speed for the duration. I mean, you'll only notice this massively in lower level missions when you don't have the mob density. Just keep Rampage going. Because in Auric and Havoc, you're in a mob-rich environment. You will be able to keep this running continuously, and by the time you stop and it runs out, everything's basically dead. So just chill out for a couple of seconds and you're fine. We're also taking Boiling Blood. Melee strikes against elite and monstrosities extend the duration of Rampage by 1 second. Additionally, the time before extending becomes diminished is now 30 seconds. Oh, so it's up from 20 seconds. There we go. Forge's Bellow. When Rampage is activated, unleash a powerful shout that staggers enemies and increases the time between their attacks by 50% for 5 seconds. This is actually wildly useful. If you have a group of ragers or maulers or whatever barreling down on you, this is literally a life-saving kind of ability. You knock them back and make them slow, and that gives you enough time to react and do what you need to do. And Pulverizing Strikes plus 50% cleave while Rampage is active. Additionally, gain 2.5% melee power for every second spent with the ability active up to 10 times. We'll go over onto the left here. We're going for the critical boost. We're picking up Swift Endurance, plus 2% increased melee attack speed for each current stamina. And then the Sweet Spot for plus 25% weak spot damage. Jumping over to the right here for 10% Toxin Strength. This increases the Toxin Strength on everything you have, on the Poop Knife, on the Needler, on your grenade. Any toxin you do is increased by 10%. And now we've got the middle tree. 10% damage, and then we've got Punching Above One's Weight, 15% damage against elites and monstrosities. Tis Butter Scratch, replenish 30% toughness over 3 seconds after taking ranged toughness damage. Losing all toughness cancels the effect. Burst of Energy, gain stun immunity for 6 seconds and restores 50% toughness when toughness is broken. This thing is wildly good as well. Battering Strikes, melee kills, grant 10% melee cleave for 5 seconds. It stacks 5 times. Hyper Violence, kills grants 25% of the difference between the damage dealt by your attack and the health of the killed enemy as melee damage for 1 second. You'll, like, once the mob density goes up and you are continuously killing and swinging, all of this will make a lot more sense. In lower level missions, when there are big gaps between fights, a lot of this isn't going to be helpful to you. But it will be. Hive City Brawler, up to 20% damage reduction depending on available stamina. Additionally, up to 20% melee damage depending on spent stamina. Right, and last but not least, Adrenaline Frenzy. Melee hits grant you a stack of adrenaline. Critical melee hits grants plus 1 additional stack. Not gaining a stack within 2 seconds will remove a stack. At 30 stacks, remove all stacks of adrenaline and gain Adrenaline Frenzy. Adrenaline Frenzy grants 10% attack speed and 25% melee damage lasting 10 seconds. And then we've got increase the duration of Adrenaline Frenzy to 20 seconds. And then we've got Adrenaline Unbound. While Adrenaline Frenzy is active, you replenish 5% toughness each second. So this is the build I used for leveling, and it worked out pretty goddamn well, to be honest. This build will work in Auric and Havoc, but I would not call it the Havoc meta because there are different builds for that. This is a very, very stable build to get you to a position where you understand and you can feel the ebb and flow of how the Hive Scum works. It's a very fast-paced build, very easy to use, very little micromanagement. It's literally get in there, start hacking, and remember, if you heavy attack with the Poop Knife, it works very much like the Chainsword and will kind of saw through them. But it is also a very, very quick weapon when you're using light attacks, and most of the shots are aimed straight for the face. So you can basically weave in light attacks, heavy attacks, however you want. And the push block is pretty good as well. You push and strike across the face. As you can see, everything you hit is covered in that lovely, lovely, lovely toxin. So everything you do is basically adding in dot damage. And like I said, if you get stuck up against something like a crusher and you can't quite get through it, just back yourself off. Dump the needle pistol into it and it will melt in front of you. The only thing that is a hard counter to the needle pistol is the shield. You cannot get through it, so just try and dance around it and dump it into any side you can. It's literally the only thing that will stop it. Even headshots to maulers doesn't matter, and to crushers. the toxin cares not for where it lands. I also said this in the other video, but I would also highly suggest changing what hotkey your stim is on. As you can see on mine, my hotkey is now V, which is the same as my stim back in Space Marine 2. So it's very easy to keep it rolling, as my keyboard is massively irritating, so the buttons are actually way further apart than they should be. So 4, where it usually is a bit of a pain in the arse to get to. But there you go, folks. That is the build I leveled with, and a build that is very good for getting to grips with how the Hive Scum works. You can take this into Uruk and into Havoc, but I will not guarantee it in Havoc past about level 35. So there you go. I hope you enjoy. And if you do, please do like and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And I shall see you next time. We have another 2 builds at least to show off. And these are Havoc meta builds. So I hope to see you for those. So until then, take it easy. I'll see you later.